Good morning, everyone. The three, 먼저 지나 저디 share 다가서 양답에 초 사들어 다들 방안에 제는 양답에 초사 데디도 계시 아니 눈다 되지는데 랑조 꼼디스 경안에 하고 요랬어.
So today we're going to talk mostly about right livelihood and the Eightfold Noble Path. So for yourselves, if you listen to this and then do some meditation on it as well, that's would be good.
다 당부 디디레 다 양답에 초라디 해도 시에나 ཉལ 데셰 데스절라 안젤 꼼제기 되겠지.
So first I'll give a little bit of explanation on it and then we'll do some meditation.
다 먼저 도와 뉴질랜드 도와이나 양답에 만차 초 만차 양답에 레샤스 양답에 레샤스라 초 만차.
So in New Zealand, most of the way people make their livelihood, most of it would be considered right livelihood for the most part.
다 가지하고
Yeah, not sure about everybody, but most for the most part.
그래서는 꾸무꾸면도
Yeah.
꾸무꾸면도 네 미디 고고단 배샤 소면도 데스 탕보도 되게 소화대 양다고 차고 왔다.
So yeah, for the most part, people don't steal and they don't like deceitfully manipulate people out of money and these types of things.
아니 데레다 간다 양다왜 소화사디 수수 칼라사야 둘로코야 두수 상마 강박이다 배샤 도와지 도선다도 상마 아니 꾸무 잘라 많이 봐봐 꾸무 많이 봐 밀로 고고 다운 많이 봐 아니 팀게로 와다디 디한테 냥가 돌아 팀게 좀 팀담이 배낭도 저랑게 외제시 제가블라 텍스 맞잖아나 저랑게 칼라디 양다고 말해 데스 팀 게사와 제가블라 텍스 야디고 롤로 고 팀로 와 팀데 쿠고라 데마고나 팀다 게라 제가 디즈 데데 삽삽 쳐고래 가시에게 팀디 체딜 가고 지금은 너 체잘 가다요 말이다 배샤 가도 하모고디 잠녀 두고 미나고 먼저 뉴질랜드로 대기요로 왔다 잠블링 데케이션 초요 말아다 나가서 만나서 델 대기요이다 대기 팀 계제 체자다 와 두저다 계점으로해서
So as I said, for the most part, the way people make their livelihood and therefore pay their rent and mortgage and food and whatnot is not done through manipulative means like falsely tricking people out of money or directly stealing or things like that. However, it is important to make sure that you are in line with the laws of the country. So, if you're not paying tax or not paying tax properly or things like that, then this can be a problem because essentially, these laws are there and everybody else is, generally speaking, has to abide by paying tax and so forth. So if you're deliberately manipulating the system to try and avoid paying your share or something like that, then this could be a problem. And then the food you buy with the money and that is not considered exactly right livelihood. It's important to stay in line with these laws, right? They're there for a reason, and obviously we need things done by the government. So if you're trying to avoid paying your share of the tax or something like that, then this can actually be considered not right livelihood. So you need to be aware of that and be in line with the laws, right? Whether you agree 100% or not, they're there by, I guess, majority agreement or something like that. So you have to sort of try and follow them as best you can.
다들 낙종으로 낙종이 저어디다 저양다고 말해. 낙종하고
낙종세나?
블랙 마켓.
Oh, I don't even know if we have a black market here. So
하고 말해.
if you're sort of on the
말에
dark web or something. Oh, I see, like selling drugs or things like illegal, yeah. On the black market.
So
So this is not considered right livelihood.
제가 다 아니 다 되저 라시아는 되다. 되나 먼저 tundu mango 세네. 양 배샤 망고 써야 돼. 양다고 말해.
So
they New Zealand mango.
Yeah, it is considered that livelihood that involves a lot of killing of animals and things like that. That's not really considered right livelihood. And unfortunately, there is quite a lot of this in New Zealand.
I think New Zealand loves it. Fish is big business and muscle. And of course this cow and sheep those things. That is 그저 소 디체제 수수 초제거라. 제가 저양다고 저는 말해다 거네래. 딱고 딕베기 되버와. 세상 먼저 이제는 다다 하고 그래. 먼저 건조 독바도서 둔두망고 세녀도서 삼바기워요 말하고. 가도이나 셈기워요 말하고. 제가 디 가르스나 페저 동해망고 세워인다. 먼저 양다고 초와서야 돼 가르스나 초와디 수수 롱제디 수수 류단 심인가라 동에서 그요 말아. 단다디 냐망보세 다 마설디 칸데이나 건서 하고 그래서 말이다. 디나 마설디 다 딕버레 부르와고. 다 간다디 십다 가오다도서 아니 망보세 이제 베샤소니도서 삼바기워요 말아. 베샤 베 밀린 서베이나 셈나라 기워요 말데서. 제단디 양다고 초와 마인자 아니 셈나라 기워요 말아. 데르다.
So this livelihood that involves, farming and killing and this type of thing, it's harmful to the animals, and of course it's harmful to yourself. Even though you may not make money, your mind wouldn't be happy. They have this nomads in Tibet who used to kill. Did drop di penang lo no? Di drop the nomads on drop.
Drop New Zealand drop mangoda.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I guess this word nomad is farmer as well, and all these types of things. So, oh, okay. Right, I see. So it's like a livestock farmer. This word that's often nomad is more like a livestock farmer, so it doesn't include other types of farming, but it includes anybody who has livestock. And this type of livelihood, these people who have a lot of livestock, and are killing them, then their minds are not happy. They're suffering. Even though they might make money, their minds are not happy. They're always suffering, right? Because a right livelihood should be something that doesn't bring agitation or suffering to your body or mind, right? Now, these, even things like mussels are considered sentient beings. They're maybe a type of insect or fish or something, I don't know. But anyway, they're definitely considered sentient beings. And of course, large animals like sheep and cows, etc. Even if you're a livestock farmer in this way, even if you make a lot of money through killing these, still it won't bring mental happiness. And selling alcohol is also not considered right livelihood. So because, this type of selling, this type of alcohol can actually be harmful to people. One, it wastes a lot of time and money for them. And also, like, going deeper into it, it can cause a lot of physical and psychological problems.
다 딩두이신 땡고마르와 땡고마 데 domba 좀된데 셰슈베 그 랍자르와 좀된데 셰슈베 다 딩자이나 케미컬 존예도 그저그 베샤도 livelihood 양다고 저 도구마는 케미컬 쇼스 누구도 하다라 that's the chemical 총점 베샤 소녀도 다디 양다고 저 도구마래 당가이네로
Right. So there, of course, this advice was put down in the time of the Buddha, so 2,600 years ago. Nowadays, there's things like people who sell a lot of harmful chemicals like pesticides and so forth. This would also, because it's so harmful to the environment and beings, would also be considered wrong livelihood.
자, 근데 양다고 초월에 그래서나 초 정보 기계제 파르베 룽바당 미당 근데라 만원 얘기 초와직도나 양다고 초월에 다 양다고 초와서나 간데시 거래다 디 망부 쉬 셰기도세 지도도세나 다디 내가 체네 지 밀라마네 지 쿠육 숨조라 마네 튼돌라 마네 틴데기 베샤 소도고도나 룽베 팀다 마네 지 베샤 소도고도나
So, obviously there could be a lot of examples that could be considered wrong livelihood, but if you want to explain the meaning of it, it's a work or livelihood that's not harmful to others. So either directly harmful, like killing and so forth, or just harmful to society in general or people in general, or on a larger scale. It's in line with the laws of the country, right? Because otherwise it could be considered harmful to the country on a larger scale. So this if you understand right livelihood as a livelihood that's not harmful to others. 하고 송
두중촉시 있어야돼 컨텐츠래.
contentment 두중촉시.
두중촉시.
도파 중원 촉시. 라라라. Okay. So also, what you want to be trying to do is be kind of content. So this dochung chokshe means basically content with less attachment. So not always wanting more and this type of thing, but just be kind of content with having a little bit less.
고야데 완딩 망고 마셔나나 로아 디 응도다 강에 속여라
나라
제단 디마 망보 디 마자 그래서다 더 총왔습니다 아 고야 망로지 한국 로 지기는 니고 숨고도 시고 미시다 직 녀상아 되고들라나 아니 데네 디 베샤 마담 제 강에 되더라
So this word, like Dochung Chokshe, means contentment of less attachment, right? And when you think about that, it's this always wanting more, which just makes us not to be content, right? If we have less attachment, less wanting, be more content with simpler things. Like if you have 1 or 2 pairs of shoes, that's enough. You don't need 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Always wanting more or better all the time. Just creates a kind of discontent within our minds.
다디네 더워충하지 촉시였어야 되라. 더워충아 촉시요 니도. 더워충아서도 원딩용 당로. 촉시였을 때다강 여와디 디고다. 디디도라. 디가 단단데 디고도라. 나란데 다랑 강 여와디. 디 야고도 다디라 하고지. 그러 콜라 비주 제샤비나 촉시요. So
then that's this less attachment part. And then the contentment part is basically being happy with what you have, right? So whatever you have, you think that's good, that's enough, that's fine. So this is this contentment, to be happy or content with whatever you have, not always wanting more.
어다다 디그레로 다디 다디 데네 제랑 장도 다 곰잡 제지셔고 스타탄당도 딩을라다 직 쇼베네 제 니공 건다 니마지 꼼자 님들라 자보스로.
So we'll explain those or think about it a bit more and then do some meditation on it. So we'll talk about how to kind of bring this meditation into a daily practice.
We will do motivation meditation. I think there are some new people really can repeat these words, motivation words. Today all the actions.
Today all the actions.
It's big loud, okay, big loud. Today I think you don't have breakfast. Today all the actions.
Today all the actions.
Of my body, speech and mind.
Of my body, speech and mind.
Will only benefit others.
Will only benefit others.
Today all the actions.
Today all the actions.
Of my body, speech and mind.
Of my body, speech and mind.
Will only benefit others.
Will only benefit others.
Today all the actions.
Today all the actions.
Of my body, speech and mind.
Of my body, speech and mind.
Will only benefit others.
Will only benefit others. So now repeat it to yourself mentally 3 times and then take some time to think about the meaning.
다 담자. 다 들은 강에 야니 니들 가르쳐오는 거. 삼바상부디 가디위나 야기 상 담자 치는데 야고요.
So now make a commitment. to holding on to, to sustaining this, no matter what happens, no matter what difficulties come, to maintain this pure attitude.
다 가오고 나 이제 삼바 상보지에 좀 가오고 그래서
So now rejoice in having developed and cultivated this good-hearted attitude or this pure motivation.
now we will do breathing exercise. Breathing exercise is you're breathing in, breathing out, long breathing in, long breathing out, both nose, right?
Mm.
And you need awareness. Now I'm breathing in, now I'm breathing out. Now you short breathe in, breathe out. See, when how coach, what she must know when you Uktung is to Shiva, partners, Tagagan, the
So just being aware of your breathing, being aware of your short breath in and out through the nose. So just be aware I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out.
다 meaning meditation. 다 장가잡아. 되게 욱통하지 하고 다 될 장가점 제 무슨 숨집 아니 참죠. 안 셈다다 가가 하고 하시는 쉬워져라 디가는 심샤 this.
So now do this breathing meditation. So you're counting your breath now. And you want to count 3 sets of 3. So in and out being one breath. So count that 3 times, again 3 times, again 3 times. And when you finish the third set, just rest in the kind of peaceful state of your mind. Just be aware of that.
다양 심 인도도나 야야자 장가자면 장가지 이 숨쉬가 숨쉬가 나쳐 숨자야 참샤.
So now if your mind's got distracted, then again, it's good to go back to the breath. So do now the same thing, but this time 3 sets of 5 breaths. And then just when you finish, be aware of your mind.
Okay. We did 4 different types of meditation. Motivation meditation, breathing exercise, breathing meditation, and mindfulness present moment. Uh, just for basic meditation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And be 다 뒤에서 잡나 아니 냠뇨 갈래 냠뇨 되네 그래서 뭐트 이제 봄 잡다나
So, if you continue with this practice and do it regularly, that's when you'll develop some familiarity. And when you do that, that's when you'll start to get meditation experiences. So, that's like up to you to continue with the practice.
다 단기 뒤중초시 시가 나 가시 뒤중초시 냠내 지오르스도 양배 교 갈래 맞아와체 교부 대어 들라고 맞다 가시 미스 안더스란 치기도 낭바 초신이 교부 대어 텐데 말해 디 미스 안더스란
So, talking more about this contentment, the contentment that of less attachment, right? Now, this is actually something quite easy, but also beneficial, very helpful, right? There's this kind of can be a misunderstanding that you have to, I don't know, give up having something like to I don't know, do you,
교부라는 포 교부 대어
yeah, okay.
텐데 말해
So you don't have to be like broke, basically, you know.
갈래 자고 그랬어.
Yeah.
갈래 자 수술라 오퍼튜니티인데 요래 딜렘지. 스페셜에 개거든요. 알 데고도 데 삼다는 그저 딥딥 미게 미밀 믹스하게 동해래. 톤돌라 되어 말해. 아 데고도 근데 망고지야도 데 미게 믹스해 동해서 데 삼단요. 수술 갈래 자 아니 수술라 고급진데 요래 수술게 education da susugi sonam da nangba na sonam shigra tikhe
So, you know, it's more a mental attitude. Well, it is a mental attitude, right? Of always wanting more and like always thinking more. So you can, you know, the more you have, the more you want. This type of thinking is what causes the problem. And this is something unique to human beings, right? Animals don't really have that. If they have, you know, their basic needs fulfilled, pretty much they're all good, right? But you know, human beings, we have this attitude of always thinking, always wanting more, and so this is what we're trying to get rid of.
la sem na la ngala goya di be shuk chumbu de na kadu na kina pangores
So basically,
kina dollar million
Yeah.
kina pangores
if you have this mind of always wanting more, always needing more, then no matter how much you have, you'll basically always be a beggar, essentially, or you'll always be poor because you never, even if you have 1,000,000, then you want another 1,000,000, right? And when you have 2, you want 5, and it goes on like that.
어디래 sem de la chukbu mena chilo million billion yuna chukbu chayo
Right. Yeah. So if you have this strong attachment, then even you have $1 billion, it's still you want more, right? You're always wanting more.
이지 sikla khande chyo de chik di nyembe khungdang tembe de me labja chyo gebo kita de tam tinga ma nyingbar wa gebo jeshi sin tok lang la sero gebo jeshi sin tok lang la ta gebo lamna de sta tingsan khagura billion tu zo billion tu kaze position na thando pe tokba de gres pe tokba khadi na to je mal ko be thugo tokba res ko tokba billion tu zo gebo jeshi sin te be chokshi mewi na be gebo jeshi sin be tokba 망고치지 내레스타고 로 빌리니아도 서로 직녀보다 제부 제시스네 떡랑나 직디래
Right.
직직다 방고로 나 홈레스로
Yeah.
홈레스도다 홈레스 랍션에 아기래
Right.
콘솔라 심기 촉시에 되요나 저거도 거이나 콘솔 축보레스 콘솔 심 간데스 콘솔
Right. So there's the saying, like, I think it's something like the king is always hungry, and it doesn't make sense. We maybe have something like heavy is the head that wears the crown in English, but essentially the idea is that obviously we're not kind of overloaded with kings these days, but we have a few billionaires. So you can use this example like a billionaire is always hungry because they always want more, right? They're always wanting more, 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 more. And no matter, even if they have a billion, they want two, and they're never content, you know. However, you know, a beggar, once they've got some shelter in their stomachs full, then they're happy, right? Like, you know, they've fed and then they're content with that. So it's like, you know, this saying, this idea that this rich person's always wanting more, is always hungry.
And sometimes you most people watching lots of this video documents, short clip. This very good show example. Sometimes the billionaire people gathering together, fancy hotel, fancy van. They don't have smile. They don't have feeling loving. Serious. Talking about business. You can look in the road, homeless people. They still not enough food. They have smile. Festive. You can see clear. This similar 촉시예요, 메도고라.
Because it comes to do with this mental contentment.
세상 야, 촉시에서 깔래 맞아봐 되나? 요아요 말아봐. 깔래 야오라 깔래.
But it's not something, if you don't work at it or don't train yourself in it, it won't just come. You have to work at it to develop this thinking.
이네 셀레 개와 잡나? 아니 먼저 수부 알아댕면도 아니 추주 망불레 같이 아니 감사질라 수분 아자차 아니 पेशा संजोति जेदी यहाँ थे ताऊ यहाँ हॉस्पिटल तो अने पति का साथ अंदर दी मिडनेल पेशा टे लब्जे जानियल पेशा संबजो में बचा के तो अने लब्जे जानियल चुज़ो लो कोमनी जे समझना चंदर जो चमचे दे उधर चमचे दे चमहा कोरा प्लान चे दे काले जो पेशा सा यहाँ दी पातां रहा सुबुदां सिम नजर पातां
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like if we strive all the time, you do all this effort to accumulate stuff, but you sacrifice your health or something along the way. It becomes like this game, right? You put all this effort into making money, but you accumulate, but then you get sick, and then suddenly you have to sustain your health, you kind of have to pour all your money out, and it becomes this kind of cycle.
And the balance, you need balance. You need right? Especially body need rest. Of course, and mind need rest. I think body and most people know very well. You can listening your body. So
yeah, you have to listen to your body. Like, what does it need? What's it kind of requiring? What's it saying, basically?
싱도 시즌 되는데 싱도 산이 시즌면은 싱도 산이 죽으면 되고 따따따 하고 배짱고요 수부디.
So I mean, yeah, basically if you're thirsty you need to drink, if you're hungry you need to eat and the right foods, and it's like, it's like a farmer who knows the season. They plant the right things at the right time in the season because they know, and it's the same. Your body kind of, it's very smart. It tells you what it needs.
That dinner is similar that. Similar ngesu gore samudaya mangbo tamna sim kale khago ano jo samudaya mangbo an deve ni mangbo ana ngalo wan ta thanda de ngalo jo subject ta ye wanding di shira chi yo mare sera ani competition ro ngalo competition na de de thanda denzo 최고예요 말이야 ro
denzo's competitive
or competition 네 안톤 모베도 ngal 모베 거래. 안톤 카도 ngal 카도 사이도. 디날 추자나 딱 냥사르잖아. 강이 태사르.
So, also you need to relax your mind. Like too much like thinking and worry and stress. This is very disturbing, And that's just kind of like wanting leads to a lot of other problems like this. We tend to have a lot of kind of competitiveness, but in a sense of like keeping up with the Joneses, like if I get a new iPhone, then suddenly you got to get a new iPhone, then I get the Galaxy 20 or whatever they're up to now, and then you got to get it, right? And so it's all this kind of trying to compete with everybody else. If somebody else gets something cool, you got to get something even cooler, right?
This does matter, what you have, you can use. Otherwise, then you lose your freedom because you have so strong peer pressure. Right? Peer pressure, peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure. 지속 누슈.
Right.
지속 누슈.
Yeah, like peer pressure, society pressure.
디 단다 디 강에 첨보르다. 디 단다 간솔 군에 강에를 생각. 독다데라. 디 단다 단데 지저데 강에 첨보르셔야 돼.
Yeah, so this creates a lot of difficulties. It creates a lot of problems, in this modern society. This is a real problem.
디 촉시에요나. 수수 강 여어디 비주체 밀라데도 알데도 라고 거야 매워. 와 수수수수수 와 수수게 내당 밤에 가시 파마야고요나 로고죠. 파마요는 수수수 갈래죠. 가시 갈래 가서 잡나 배샤시다 용문도 와. 가르쳐네. 아주 선남사예요. 막 짐바다요. 짐바.
So you also need to kind of practice in a good way, like be generous, do these things, be a good human being. Like you see some people who work really hard but never seem to make any money, right? Never seem to get any success. And why is that? Because they didn't create the merit. They didn't create the causes. So you need to do that as well. You need to practice things like generosity and so forth.
아니 가시에요. 미 가시인데도 미 가시 갈래시다 맞잖아네. 뭐 상마직 뒤로죠. 디 가래. 수수 아마 손남 사이죠. 디 대미인 거로.
And you see other people who without any effort seem to always have a lot of money and things just come easily for them. And that's the same. This is the opposite. Because they've created the merit in the past, then things come very easily.
디 군적 쓰나? 아니 군적 정보 지금입니다. 사냥민도 찍을 배샤만 올리기도 찍을 리그민도라.
It's not like there's kind of like a being divvying out the karma, right? Like, oh, you get some merit, I'll give you some merit, none for you, right? No soup for you, It's like, it's not like that, right? There's nobody, no God or anything that gives it out. It's up to your responsibility to create your own karma.
예, 수수기 진바당 이 서버검 수dum도 계셔버려요. 수dum소나 롱조 유릉부 되고 진바당에 롱조 용구요. 수dum소나 롱조도 유릉부 돼야 돼요.
Right. So, it comes down to things like practicing morality, patience, generosity, So, ethics, this is very important because it's said that wealth is the result of practicing generosity, but the ability for wealth to stay around, to sustain that is the practice of ethics or morality.
제가 뒤인데다 저기 냠len시야 돼. 다 생물 냠len시야 돼. 오늘 편도 첨부래로. 제가 알아서다 드링어도 같이 오래서는 촉시죠. 촉시 냠네. 둘다데 촉시 냠네죠. 그러. 아니. 나 진보당. 와. 진보당. 나 저랑서 뒤에 다 디나라다 요식 말이야. 된대기. 아니 내가다 총 구멍구야게 소화제에서 밀로 고고 땅야고 소화제에서 근데 쟤는 소화되고 말했어.
So, this practice is very beneficial, practicing things like generosity becomes very, very helpful. And also developing this contentment, and having this right livelihood along with that, doing things, making money without harming others through stealing or so forth. So this is very important.
오늘 주부찬이로나 촉시 냠네 저거래. 아니 주부. 촉시 노르기 초인서로. 아니 구마게 계획 말해 작배 보고 말해 태자고 말해 정신 태자고 말해.
So if you really want to be rich, then you have to have contentment, right? Like there's a saying that this contentment is the greatest wealth. Contentment is the greatest wealth because you can't lose it in a stock market crash. Nobody can steal it from you. You can't get it destroyed in an earthquake, anything like that, right? It's all, nothing can take it away, and that's why it's said to be the greatest of wealth.
이번에 노르 첨부래. 그래 되래요.
So it's like the best asset you can have.
다 딘데 춘지요 말. 저런 총접도 미라 펜베 내가 잖아. 아니 총디 배샤 야고 잡아라. 펜메 피조고 배샤 꼬야. 답시 년년 제도. 야 오면도 알아.
So if you do work that helps others, that benefits others, then this is really, what you want to be trying to achieve. If you're thinking always I need money and make it any which way you can, then this is not really the best.
2 weeks ago I went to Richmond. I had old phone, new phone. I wanted some widget apps need put other new phone. And their water phone can't do that. And there one Indian man say you can go outside there, especially. So they can do. I went there. There are 2 Indian guys. I give their job. And they say you come to 15 minutes later. I went after 15 minutes. And they say, oh, sir, you need your phone skin. Do you see the yellow and they need to change. He said, need to change. Otherwise, your phones become broken. Say, no, I said, no, I don't want this. And then later, he said, oh, maybe you come 20 minutes later. I went, oh, sir, your battery is very so long. You need to change the battery, This is not good, isn't it? They're wanting money. We are not stupid. We know.
We're not that dumb anymore, right?
제일 총각들 돈이 들어옵니다. 총각 통운이네. 내 돈이 들어옵니다.
So like if they try and con you saying, oh, you need a new battery or these things, we're not that stupid. We know we're familiar with phones, but it means that you won't repeat the business. Like next time you won't go to that store again.
I feel it, and I went there. I don't want to go to this shop now.
So that's very short-term thinking, because in the long term it's like bad for your business.
You have already experienced, our life like that, dealing with the people. Some people are very sincere, helping, and then we want to go some more there. We see this shop or restaurant, we want to more go there. Yes, 데려왔다 간다. 네 눈에서나 배조를 펜싱이 내가 채나 아니 수수 총이나 야구 용거를 내가 있나 야구 용거를 미나 코리아 도와다 그 데려도 왔다라.
So if you have this attitude to benefit others, then in the long run your business will do better. People will like it. People will like you and like the store and come back. And so in the long run it works better this way.
나 정말 말로도 내가 그래서는 굴론 계정 말이야. 굴론도 계정 뭐 쉬워래다.
So it all comes down to your motivation, right? This really becomes the key, most important thing.
그래서는 표저 모티베이션을 빼셔서야 지고 굴론이 아니 배 가득될 거야 미치 정말. 모티베이션을 팬도 그 사무데 유나 아니 네 연구 말하고 제가 네 벨로가 줘서.
I'm going to do.
모티베이션을 무서야 무 빼셔서 무서야.
right.
아니 그 액션 배 독자차로 모티베이션 우밀에 팬도 있나 때네 네 야고야면 돼야고서 그 팬도나 아니 비교 가그라고.
So if you have this attitude just to make money at like whatever cost, like then your actions will follow, won't be positive, right? Whereas if your thought is to benefit others, to help others, then you'll think more clearly, your actions be more positive. In the long run, it will bring more happiness and benefit.
Sometimes I mentioned before. Sometimes mantra. Change your motivation, change your life. You can result in this. Need something a special mantra. He said, change my motivation, change my life. You don't worry, you change life. We need a little bit change because something not correct. 단대디 되게 이나 change고요 말아. 이나 찍찍 되면 더 돼. 가래 이나 더 찍차도 돼. 맞아 life system this 찍 되게요 말아.
Right.
되게 이나 더 change고요 말아.
We need to check. I mean, are our lives that perfect and wonderful right now, right? Or are there some things that we could change? Could we do with like changing our way of thinking, our way of behaving, our way of acting? And so we need to check, if everything's perfect, okay, all good, you just carry on. But if there is some things that maybe you could change a little bit to, then it's worth looking at.
Tadi, wah, you change your motivation, then change your diri. Harsa orang anda subcharging wah.
No.
Oh, dit jauh doa. Tidak ego saja doa. Ego lah dia dan subcharging dah tu dit jauh doa na. Jauh cuma doa. Tandang anzo di subcharging the ego tu sin dia ya. Di kita kangen sama soal tanda.
So, it's things like our ego, our self-cherishing, these are what cause us difficulties and problems. So we need to work with these. If we can reduce these, right, change or understand our ego and our self-cherishing, then we can become more happy, better people.
So that the motivation is kulon jauh jauh macam lamsan jauh jauh marwa.
So it comes through changing the motivation. It doesn't immediately change, but through changing the motivation, then this change can come.
세상 나디 찬자 심 수국 kum시여와 수국 kum시데 제단 되어도와 베나가서 알코올릭 소라 근데 스모코홀릭 소라도 그래서 내 단도 등상한서 다 무비 워칭 홀릭 and gambling 홀릭 그러 게임 홀릭 그러 게임 홀릭 그래서 제일 되어 레벨 제단 수구 제일 되어 있잖아. 그래서 가야라 빼깔래. 그래서 파가야라 빼 주주 쉬고 그. 그냥 심게 addiction 다 장난션저디 교단 레라워였다. 와. 빼 주주 교보를 교단 더. 당기는 심 교단에 천자 교고요. 르 교단에 빼강해요. 디싱었다.
So we can have changing the motivation is the key to changing everything with your mind. So we can have a physical kind of addictions, to substances like smoking or drugs or alcohol or even gambling and movies and things like that. You get a kind of maybe a physiological kind of addiction, and this is very difficult. It takes a long time for your physical aspect of the addiction to fade, right? It takes time and it takes to get over that. But with the mind you can change very quickly, right? Very easily, very quickly. It's amazing how quickly you can change, how flexible, malleable the mind is.
먼저 하고 보고 하고라. 보고 스팀 틱스 가와다가 누구래. 테스 마데바다 누구래. 냠바라 버치테는 람상 게임게도. 그 스팀 람상 요로. 와. 티 요로네. 아니 그 게임게 저라. 스팀디 도데 냠 무이치고라. 티 단다 추주 나라 요로거다. 어디 스팀 요로고.
Right. So you can see that with small children. Like the smallest thing goes wrong and immediately they throw a massive tantrum and they're crying, and then, they get something, a present or like a sweet or something, and suddenly they're laughing and they're happy, and you can see how quickly their mind can change over the smallest little thing.
That insan subuke does level zela deodo on social media holic bang. It's the whole mangoyo insan.
So these days we have plenty of things to be like multiple holics, we're like social media holics
and the shopaholic and the workaholic. What workaholic?
Yeah, workaholic.
Oh, workaholic. This holic.
If you can't control it, like that's what's like a holic or an addiction.
Kasha is a talkaholic.
Talkaholic.
Talkaholic. Can't stop. This talkaholic. Yes. 가워요 어디라 콜렉스 말아. 그래서 컨트롤 지도나 콜렉 말다.
So yeah, if it's out of your control, that's when you're like an addict or a holic. Yeah. Whereas if you can control it, then it's different. But that's my personal way of thinking. What other people say, I don't really know.
I saw first shopaholic here. I believe Some people buy shoes. Some people buy toilet paper. Some people buy magazine. Put lots of whole house put magazine. Some people put whole house shoes. Unbelievable. They sometimes before I had in TV, because I come 1 year later I had TV. I had TV number one or two, only this, and I sometimes watching TV number one, and they're showing some people have this shopaholic, house all packed in magazine, stay by magazine, put their magazine. They don't have space, whole house magazine. 근데 너 하더니 장난식이더라. And 가져 some shoes, house shoes. This is unbelievable. This is shopaholic. Oh, before I said no alcoholic, no, in drugstore, drugs the holic.
Drugs, yeah.
This is how go. Shopaholic, tropaholic, workaholic. I know here. I understand here. Workaholic like color.
Lega chair, didn't
Oh, dear, workaholic. And some people have exercise holic.
exercise.
Exercise.
Like a gym junkie.
Yeah. Then you this pen, they finish. Need to put their metal, Too much using your body. Need balance. All need balance. Therefore, meditation. I think that some people said meditation holic. No. Meditation don't have holic because meditation makes your mind more happy. But meditation makes you sad. This is not good, right? Meditation chen kashe yorda gom jan majibu sonye. Te gom de yawo mare. Te jabjuwa mare, right? Te gom de jabjuwa mare. Kashe dinde yor gom jan sama majibu chaya dinde yor. Duzu gom duzu jabjuwa mare, right?
Yeah, so yeah, if meditation's kind of stressing you out or making you more disturbed, then this is not the way,
Meditation ge da ji kale samba de ma her. De shiwa ro ne. lamsam eva masnana tek in karsore 강의 총으로 남았는데 샤도로 하고.
So the idea of meditation is to make your mind relaxed and peaceful and calm. But obviously that is not going to happen overnight. But you should, if you've been meditating for a little bit, you should see some change. Some positive change in your mind.
근데 제가다 당저 대리든다데 저런도 아니 저 대중초시 냠내냐고 제가 야고.
So, from today, the more you can practice this contentment, the more you can understand and practice this contentment of less attachment, then that's really something you can take away. And also, if you can practice generosity, this is something really good. Right.
아니 저랑게 밀라양 계좌들이 랍자시 최최지 로봇체죠 대지 말에. 신다 개면은 저랑 개무게는데 밀라 개무게 대지.
So it's not just money that you can be generous. You can be generous with your time. You can be generous, like if you can help people with their spiritual development or talk about the Dharma, then that's generosity. Even if you just hang out and laugh with people, then that can be generosity, right?
They have a nice story, Buddha story. They're making cartoon.
Cartoon.
Very nice cartoon, short cartoon. One beggar, Buddha didn't walk, and then beggar gave caution for Buddha. Why I become so poor, And then Buddha said, you didn't do generous to practice. And he said, I don't have nothing generous to practice, nothing. And Buddha said, you have. You can do generous. And he said, I don't have. Today I'm not enough my food, And then Buddha said, you can show smile. Not smiley. Smile.
Smiley. Smile, not
No
smelly.
No smile. Timatan gemke logardas right.
Yeah, so smile and smell and smile are quite different, right? So don't get mixed up.
This day I had a little bit confused my pronunciation. You're a little careful sometimes. I learned with this Susan smile and smile.
Smile and smell.
Some pronunciation sometimes, you know. 어디 이제 알아 이제 나와서 만나서 경계 시리즈다 지겨워 말이야. 대 릴렉스나 단다 투주 닫아 들어와.
So yeah,
하고 말해 싫어.
so keeping your mind relaxed and in the present moment, and this is, very beneficial for your life.
게임게 어서 게임게 더 말다. 가리나 배 상모 시리즈 링기요 말해. 아니 게임을 연구를. 상모 시리즈 레나 네 같이 우리 페사서 들어와야 되는 거야 연구를 게임 거야 연구를 되네.
So if your mind's all kind of agitated, then you can't relax and laugh and so forth, so don't take things too seriously, right? If everything's real serious and a big deal and you want, then
everything you want perfectly, need perfect on the time, we can't do. We are no Buddha, we are, 먼저 call there as well. 세상에 좀 때에 연구를 하고.
So we can't be perfect. We're not enlightened beings, so we're kind of stuck on samsara. So sometimes things aren't going to go the way we want.
And it's they are aware. Sometimes you need open mind to talk. Sometimes we thinking see some new people, and we think, oh, this is perfect life, We see, for me, and ngaranze no luchen jodan sama simnan tingira, tangada bedugjare, tangada yagure mazon samane, pejo midida go life success sure pe yagure sha tingidara. That did tingering on sama ranju legre.
So we tend to think, oh, I'm no good, and I've got all these problems and difficulties. But this other person, oh, their life's all sorted and perfect, right? We tend to think like that.
And not good enough, not 당구면도. 아니 내 뒤어지 저는 가래 good not good enough 그랬을 아니 라야민도. 당구 미 야고든데 짠짠다 수수 요어디 제라. 아니 내가 not good enough 라고라. 또 주의 삼로시단데 수수 야고래 되는 거네시는 먼저 미르된데 빼야고라라. 근데 신다 삼담 르된 미고라 임바삼 디고라.
So, sometimes people would say to me, oh, I'm not good enough. But when you ask them why are you not good enough, they don't really actually have an answer, It's kind of, we sort of have this negative self-view, just this kind of feeling that we're not good enough or there's something wrong with us or something like that. But in reality, that's not the case, Even just being a human being, you have this incredible, that's good enough, right? You have this it's incredible to have that and that potential.
All the time. Last few weeks, I already told you, and our mind is guest house. Same day,
Guest house, like a guest house or a hotel.
Subudi guest house na shi. Ko milu jiwa jewo jabdu de tundu da mi da ha da tende lendu de. 다 먼저 밀르데 원에 5-star 나래로 먼저 5-star 나 대여랬다.
So yeah, like we say our body's like a hotel or a guest house, right? And like of all the places you can be born, you can be born as an insect or a animal or all these sorts of things. Actually being a human being is like a 5-star accommodation, right?
We all live now 5-star hotel. Okay. We need recognize. This makes you happy, You don't need to try to making lot. Some people say, if I buy this car, I become happy. If I buy this house, I become happy. You don't say like that. Just this, bro. 미망거든 데라가 나 강관년 나 기부용 나 뭐다요 나 가시에 나를 내가 있는 기부용 단다에 가 여어디 사무단의 기부요.
Yeah, so people think, oh, if I have a house, I'll be happy. If I have a new car, I'll be happy. If I get a better job, I'll be happy. But it doesn't come from this. Like, you should do whatever you have, you should be happy.
대가서나 happiness 요즘 실론에 연구해봐 돼서 토할래라. 대요나 다 가디이나 다 가르라나 저런라 디지 와요 맞다. 디지 실론에 와요 맞다. 디지 생나네 연구.
Yeah, thinking that happiness comes from external things, it doesn't actually work like this. Happiness is a mental thing. It comes from the mind. So if you have this contentment, then whatever you have or don't have externally, you'll still be happy.
Oh, dear. 다디 하고서 다 딘다디 홈 relaxation 디 하고서 다
So do you know what your home relaxation, your responsibility is going forward?
예, 오열데 도 다 주제이나 아니 곰자 그러 하고르데 그런서 단다디 낭베기 곰다 셈다 따루다 된데 장기나 수수 매정을 편도에 첨보여.
So, if you can bring meditation practice a little bit into your daily life, and also learn a little bit more about Buddhist kind of philosophy and psychology and so forth, this is really beneficial in your life.
And number one things boring, right? Boring 차지. 야 가져 낭배 쳐야지 가져 장배나 thing sabr tang and it's how feeling joyful feeling mar there.
And the other thing is, you'll never be bored, because no matter how much you study Buddhist philosophy, there's always more to know. You can always go deeper, understand it deeper, and it becomes very interesting and very joyful to continue to learn and study.
Buddhist 낭배기 칙 배 좋아지 뭐 가져 세난 심심 칼라 가시에서는 심을 로고다.
Right. So the Buddhist teachings and the Buddhist philosophy, it's like the more you eat it, the tastier it becomes, right? It's like the more you get into it, the more you understand it, then the more you the tastier it becomes.
And then you never become retired. So
you never retire from learning about
it. You still live in a retired house. You never become retired. You're all the time busy and thinking,
Yeah, so your work on your mind's like never finished.
Yeah,
so if you like watch a lot of TV or this and that, you get kind of bored, but with working on your mind, you never get bored.
Updating charging
so you don't have to constantly be upgrading to the latest version of your mind. You don't have to update it. You don't have to pay for virus protection, all of this sort of stuff.
건다 나나 다 많이 가려고냐 고민다 드링에 내가 두고로 가르쳐야 된다 디 조샤체 피부케이션 체 내가 야고 제도는 다딩아 야고 제샤다 내가 드링 고민자 밀레 펜도시 야고 제샤 아니 가오곰 니구나 아니 야고요.
So also before you go to bed, like before you go to sleep, it's good to check over your activities of the day and think, what was not the most skillful, like things that weren't that good, and kind of regret and try and let go of those, like purify those. And then think of the positive things you did as well, and really feel positive about that and rejoice in that, and try and further commit to developing these positive qualities.
Question? Do you have question? No question. Question.
If you have any questions, you can ask them. Otherwise, we'll stop here.
Understand. Yeah, understand.
Everybody understands everything. That's good.
This sticks there.
Now you got to sort of keep it in your mind.
You. Leva shongze chemboyo. Ine level sim shongze chigirda sro. Leva brand che. Leva na mamulana konagdo.
I see. Right, so like the brain is, although it's quite like it can do a lot, it is limited because it's like a physical thing, and by that definition it has limitations. But the mind, the more you can get used to the mind, there's no limit. The more you can continue to develop positive qualities, there's no limit to the positive qualities you can develop.
Yeah, simge gyöndina nzo mangbo yöna ane sim ge yönden de dosa nyungru zoyo jedan da sim ge nzo yönden ge chola samna da ya de keje more.
So but we want to be working with the positive qualities, because the more we kind of caught up in faults, negative thinkings and so forth, then the less chance, there's no space for positive qualities to develop. But the more you work with the positive qualities, the more space you have and the more these things can develop. So you want to be focused more on the positive aspects and positive qualities.
You need to smart and delete negative amount. No, delete down. Yeah.
Actually, I have a question. And in developing contentment, a method for developing contentment, is it that mindfulness the important thing? Like if I'm kind of like, I want this and I want that, is it that I'm become mindful of all the mind that always wants something new? Is that the basic
So
method?
the Chakshi Kandi Gyogire, the Tingnazin Gogire, or Trimpa mindfulness Gogire?
Is there online people? English.
So if you want to develop contentment that we talked about, is mindfulness the key to developing that contentment?
전부 거래에서 그래.
Yeah, the Kandi Kyogire, Trimpa Gogire,
Kandi Kyogire.
yeah, the Chakshi.
알레요. 척시 깨라. 먼저 당보 되바 첨부치야. 그래서 이미 생으로. 되바 첨부치는 강에도 와. 디시는 디 디그리스 and this and 네 양자 돼야 될 mindfulness 거래다.
So the thing with to develop contentment, you need to first see the faults of this having this attachment, this always wanting more, seeing the faults of that, seeing how it brings about suffering. Then you'll start to have this feeling to develop contentment. But then to further be aware of that, then you need to bring in the mindfulness aspect.
이제 wanting too much 아니 먼저 강발라 무기지 거라. 무기지 랭고라다. 무기지 레나 아니 심데도가. 아니 될 내가 멍부 채우러와. 되네 스트레스 리그도 anxiety 리그도 아니 가시에 different 차되거든.
Yeah, so but like wanting more and more, you might overextend yourself financially, like get too big a mortgage, borrow too much money, and then you can have a lot of stress and anxiety that comes with that, right? So, better to have something that you're content with, to more simple kind of life.
I met some people depression person. I asked them, what do you think men cause depression cause? And they said three things. One thing is worry, worry. Another thing is loan, preparation, loan, big
like
debt. Kaza for loan.
Like debt.
And the third one, relationship. But I thought this time you work you subcherishing the ego.
Yeah, so this is the surface level thing, the nearer kind of cause. But beneath that, there's the self-cherishing and ego grasping. That's really the cause of the problem.
That 도저 삼는 땅 거래다 봐. 네 삼다나 아니 다 적시 제고 돌아서.
Right. So but you have to think about these things and really understand them, and then when you understand them, then you'll have this wish to develop this contentment.
다 양자 냠려야라 아니 전부 거래다.
But if you want to continue to be aware, that's when the mindfulness comes in, right? To continue the practice.
Do you have question?
Yes. When faced with some decisions in life, and we sometimes might have, I feel like sometimes we might emphasize logic or logical rational thinking, like Herbert Lee said, the saying follow your heart when it's a feeling, but then also maybe intuition plays a part there. How would you say from Buddhist point of view or from point of view of meditation, how can you balance these things when making decisions? What would you emphasize?
So, we have this idea of making logical decisions, right? But also you have these things like saying follow your heart, and you have intuition. So how do you kind of rationalize that? How do you bring those together when making a decision? So nanza di samsam di shera samlatang yabo tango gare. Nanza engineer di intuition yore any feeling draw yore. So di nipa kandi hako sam taga samlatang or di feeling tandi intuition kandi hako.
다 dila tininiga gore ro. Shera gore. Ene susugi semnang ge cho jik le yong da nga di chi men la yong da nga di chen na ya bu yong ma di chen na ya bu yong su semnang jik sha le do die nyen ina da pena chana ro ji business ro ji ko zu ge ina ra business ro ji ko sa ba zu la ga ro ji ko zu ge ina tang bo di ne da di shen ba je wo pe pa jo ge ba da ne da du zu khande yong ge me lung be ne da khande me customer du khande do ge me ani du zu khande yi me 아니 ngaran la din nuba di yoda me tuzu yagu tuzu nedan tuzu yagu taje chegina ani sevo da di sherabro ani shindule ta sevo 땅에 제고더라 데 딕스 ane legres ngazu dile chegores
right. So you need both, right? So sometimes we do have a feeling of something being good or bad or something like that, and you certainly have to listen to that, but just following that alone maybe is not always the best thing to do, right? Like, for example, if you were starting a business, you want to know the whole situation, as much information as you can about the business, like what kind of business, what kind of customers, what kind of location do you need, how much staff do you need, what's the, like the situation with tax and all of these things, right? And when you're really clear on all of the information, then you can make a fully informed decision, right? So just following your intuition without having all the information, maybe that's not so good. It's kind of a combination of both, having really done the research and then also listening to what you're feeling.
Yeah.
The follow-up to that is intuition and following your heart the same thing.
Oh, they're kind of English terms, we'll see. So
heart like feelings, like I feel,
yeah, and so
intuition would be something that we get through meditation, but it's not feeling.
Okay, so what's the difference between intuition and feeling? So the intuition, Hakoso? He doesn't know what intuition is, so this is difficult.
Example.
Like, so you're gonna have to give examples.
Examples, good. And understand.
Yes, well, like she said, maybe if you can get the sudden feeling that you need to do something, your heart is against it and your logic is against it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so sometimes it's okay. Feeling di jegogirero. So it's the difference between intuition and feeling. So sometimes I feel it the jegogire, injiminji jegogire. And the samlatangna adi yabumundu di so feeling yabu yomane any samlatangna yabumundu di samsan dopa yura adi jegogire. So
di chenzayorda diro. di tuwape yaburero, di takbure.
Yeah, it's a good question, but it's quite tricky. This thing, this feeling, and this intuition. What's?
하르스나 리카시 간절로 초어서 열어요. 디 간절 초 제조거래. 간절 feeling 난시 초 제조거래. 리카시라 수수 지도 매니 지도야 된대요.
Yeah, right.
디 간절 난과 있는 디 레레 데부. 레 데부 슉 첨부 요나. 라와요 말은.
Right.
내가 나 모두 다운로 그러와. 모두 다운로드 나 레곤 세 되고 요 말에. 레곤 다 포함된대. 레곤 세 되고 요 말에. 이나 모두 배 조타는 그 세로.
Right.
디도 어딘데 디릭도 먼저 레그 나 남바 있는 레그 되고시 레그 되고 딜라 that feeling that 타이즈다 요 말에 그 조작을 되고 매니 치고야 된대 요.
So this with this kind of wanting to do something, this feeling to do something, there's two schools of thought. One, you have this choice. The other one is that this is something that manifests from another means. Like for Buddhists would say, this is the result of your karma, right? So this feeling, I should do this or something, can come up because of your karma that you've created. It's like when you're driving a car and you're going fast, you don't not want to hit a rabbit or a possum, but because of the speed you're going, you can't control. You don't have that choice, right? You're just going too fast, and you just have to you hit them without having any choice. So sometimes this things come up without real conscious choice.
수수 아다디 채나 되게 말해 삼삼 수수 치고야 되는 상마 대 레게 레디 사사디 데부디 용고야 된대
Right. So, sometimes things come up because we've created the causes. If you haven't created the causes, you won't get this result or this feeling in this case. So it's coming from making the causes. So having these things come up, like this feeling, oh, I should do that or I want to do that, comes from the karma we've created in the past. So you have to really sort of understand why it's coming about.
bed concentration pakwa chas na 아니 디간을 도투고 말 코란 생 수수 되바 칸사이 디간을 도 그러면 시지게 디기 간조이나 단다 정함에와 줘야 된대도 딘데다 네 낭발라 내제 찍네 디간을 도 먹어야 된대 여야 돼요.
So if you really develop your mind and you meditate like what we say Arya beings, they're not under the control of this, right? They're not overwhelmed by it, they're not influenced by it. Like whatever comes up from that, I bet you the mind doesn't follow us, but for us it's not like that. Whatever comes up, we tend to immediately engage with it. So you've got to be aware of what's happening with your mind. But you need to take some time and think about it from your own experience. So it's good if you can see, well, this is what, see what you're feeling and how that's coming about, and also how that relates to your rational mind. So it's good if you can understand it from your own experience. So sometimes, you could take the example of you might meet two new people you've never met before. But one of them, you feel this immediate connection with and you really like them. And the other one, you just don't want to have anything to do with them, right? So where does that kind of thing come from? So from a Buddhist perspective, we'd say that that's a connection, positive or negative, that you've had with somebody from a previous life. So we'll stop here.
Okay. Let's stop here.